Alrighty, so hopefully we are recording. Hope that works. So can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Mireille Pardon. I'm a professor of history at Berea College in Berea, Kentucky. I do work with criminal records, and I am interested in how gender and sexuality are expressed in late medieval society.
Chances are in 600 years there will be no record of you personally at all. Unless you chisel your name on the pyramids. Don't. Or drown in a tar pit. Don't. Then almost everything that you produce that can be traced back to you is pretty ephemeral. We say the internet is forever, but servers aren't. Computers break down and decay, old formats become obsolete, paper disintegrates. Even if archaeologists find your skeleton 600 years from now, it won't tell them what your name was. And this is even more true historically, when most people were illiterate and plastic hadn't been invented. The vast majority of people throughout history are totally lost to us. Our subject for today is Eleanor, or John, Reichner, who survives in the historical record by the tips of their fingernails. They are known to us from a single transcript held at the London Metropolitan Archives from a time they were interrogated at the Guildhall.
This is a transcription from a court in London, and so it's describing sort of the situation that happened from the point of view of the law, and it's saying, oh, this person who was involved in the case confessed to this person confessed to that. So it's kind of a record after the sort of interrogation of witnesses has happened and after people were forced to appear in court. Court records can be a really good source for everyday life. We always have to remember that we're hearing at it from the point of view of law enforcement. And so while witnesses are making statements or people are making confession, it was what was sort of extracted by law enforcement and being recorded from their perspective.
We don't have their birth certificate or their tombstone or their diary. All we have is this one document to show they even existed. And this is more than most people of the period have left to us. It tells the story of a person who is brought before the Mayor of London in 1394 for questioning after they are caught having sex with one John Britby on Cheapside. When they're first arrested, they give their name as Eleanor Reichner, but later admit that they were born John. Now, neither prostitution nor sodomy are technically illegal at this time. It's seen as more a matter of for the church than the courts, so they can't really charge Reichner with anything, but they do want to ask them some questions. Of course, what we want to know today about Reichner is, how did they experience gender? Did they ever think of themselves as a woman, or did they think of themselves as a bloke with a female alias? I spoke to medieval historian and scholar Dr. Mireille Pardon about Reichner's case, who was a great help in unravelling the actual medieval Latin that is used, and she explained that the court official who wrote the documents steadfastly calls them John and uses he/him pronouns for them, even though they're appearing in court in women's clothing, giving their name as Eleanor. But their gender identity is not what the court is interested in. It's not dealing with queer theory or identity. It's dealing with evidence of criminality. The court wants Reichner to name and shame the priests that they've had sex with. So what we have is not an explanation of their internal experience of gender, but instead their telling of their extraordinary life. Reichner says that they lived and dressed as John until one day they were given some women's clothing by a woman called Elizabeth Brodera in Bishopsgate and inducted into the twin worlds of sex work and embroidery. They had sex with both men and women, including priests and nuns. Reichner further said that he often had sex as a man with many nuns and also had sex as a man with many women, both married and otherwise. How many, he did not know. Reichner further confessed that many priests had committed that vice with him as a woman. How many, he did not know. Blackmail seems to have been just as big a part of the job as needlecraft, though. One of Reichner's clients was a rector called Philip. Reichner says they stole 2 gowns from Philip, and when he demanded them back, Reichner was like, "I'll have you know, my husband is a very important man, and if you want them back, you'll have to sue him. I'll see you in court." It's not always clear if Reichner's clients knew Reichner's sex or not. They call some of their clients ignotos, which means unsuspecting, but with repeat clients, it seems pretty certain that they must have known what they were getting. And they didn't just wear women's clothes during sex. They also got jobs as a woman, working as an embroideress and a barmaid. Reichner also mentions a long-term relationship they had as a man with a woman called Joan Matthew. And one day, Reichner is on Cheapside, which is a street we've talked about before. It's the main shopping street in London. It's a little bit like Oxford Street is today. And they're dressed in women's clothing. And there they catch the eye of John Britby, who propositions them. And the two head off down a side street called Soper Lane. And it's there that they are caught by local officers, quote, committing that detestable, unmentionable, and ignominious vice. Both are arrested, and we also have records from Britby's interrogation, and he says he was sure Reichner was a woman, although, of course, you would say that if you were up in front of the Common Council. Reichner's case is unique in London records at the time, and it seems like interrogators didn't really know what to make of them. Like, we have no record that they were ever prosecuted for a crime, or indeed any record of them at all, outside of this one transcript. Once the ink is dry on this historical document, they disappear from the historical record for good. Now, I actually talked about this case on TikTok last year, and one of the main questions I got was, so, is this a non-binary person? Or a bisexual man in drag? Or a trans woman? And although it is tremendously important to see oneself reflected in history, these aren't questions we can answer. Any more than we can say Reichner would have bought Apple over Android. These terms did not exist until our modern era. If you asked Reichner if they felt non-binary, they wouldn't understand the question. And anyway, we can't ask them what they felt about their gender in their heart of hearts. We don't know what pronouns they used for themselves. So, rather than try and assign people modern identities to which they might not neatly fit, historians tend to talk about a person's actions instead, and use the catch-all term queer to refer to anything that falls outside a strict heteronormative standard. I might still say non-binary or genderqueer in the title of this video, though, because you can't fit into a thumbnail. The internet is the death of nuance once again. Names of individual people from medieval London are scarce enough, let alone finding one who fits what we'd today call a marginalised identity. Fewer women's names have been left to us than men's names. The names of people of colour and queer folks are even harder to identify. So Reichner's survival for 600 years is pretty miraculous. I want to thank Dr. Mireille Pardon, who talked me through Reichner's court document in its original Latin and really helped me organise my thinking on Reichner. She does medieval history, and you can find her at pardon_me at TikTok and Twitter. I'd also like to thank my patrons, who you can see on the screen right now. Patrons get access to cool extras like video scripts with all my notes on and discounts off tour tickets. I even put up an online tour recently which patrons have access to. If you'd like to join them, there's a link in the description. And finally, I'd like to tell you about a couple of real-life tours that I've just released dates for. One is A Brief History of London. If you want to get to know London in a short space of time, maybe you've lived here for years but never explored its history, we're going to run down the city's greatest hits, from the Romans to the Great Fire and the swinging 60s. With an expert hand, moi, to guide you through the whole thing, we're going to zoom through about 5,500 years of history in about 2 hours. Or, how about Gruesome Tales for Grown-Ups? The tale of Smithfield is a tale of blood. Plague pits, surgery, grave robbing, and some of the worst execution methods the medieval mind could devise. It's all happened here. We're going to see a church where so many people have been buried that the ground level has risen around it. This one is not for the faint-hearted. There's more details about all of these and links to book in the description. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.